continuing on with our discussion about color and imagery, this segment is going to focus on effective use of imagery. So, not only thinking about the style of imagery, but really discussing the role of imagery in packaging. So, when thinking about imagery, when images are used appropriately, imagery can create visual excitement, memorable experiences, and even those recognizable touch points that we look for when we are in the store. And then thinking about examining imagery, thinking about how we apply the image. If we take a look here, this is a pasta brand. They've got different types of spaghetti noodles, pasta noodles, and different types of sauces. And they're very much playing on, if we take a look at the imagery itself, the way the images are shot, the people featured. If we think of old world Italy, the idea of family and wholesome and gathering around the table, with grandma making a big pot of pasta, right? If we think of just the history of, pasta and what we know about, Italians being really big on family and gathering around food and a good meal, this really captures kind of like the slice of life style and thinking about, enjoying this meal with your family or maybe even, with grandma, grandpa, whoever. But these images contain a variety of people. Sometimes there's a couple, sometimes there's individual people, but they all look very inviting. If you'll notice, we're using black and white photography in this packaging, and that creates a visual narrative. It helps tell that story of like old world, classic, times gone by, very traditional. And then taking a look at comparing these guys here, these are all different types of packaging, different types of product spaces. But here, these are in these pro bars that you guys are looking at. They're color coded by color that you'll notice, but also you take a look at these. At first, I thought they were photos, but these are hyper realistic illustrations, photorealistic, if you will, of these fruits. So, really inviting and enticing, but also easy to grab and to know what's in what you're going to eat, right? So, signifying that wholesomeness of nature. And then if we take a look at these are hair products. If we take a look, we're using these really nice, simple monochromatic black illustrations, very mod, kind of high-end fashion type images. And we're layering that with the red to kind of give it that bold, super chic look to it. And then if we take a look over here on the old Milwaukee beer can, there's a couple different series of these, but we're using this pinup girl style illustration and painting. Again, kind of that vintage. Also thinking about how the illustrations are treated too. This pinup style, a little bit of sex appeal there going on with the old Milwaukee beer can. So, imagery in a global economy. So, thinking about not just designing for products here in America, but if products go overseas or if they're shipped elsewhere. Communication and perception of visual imagery, as we all know, differs between cultures and ethnic groups, and even in different regions. Think about, for those of you guys that maybe have traveled abroad, if you see products that are made here in America, if you purchase them overseas, a lot of time they feature different imagery, different illustrations, or it might be you can still tell it's the same product brand and logo, but it might be totally different altogether depending on where the product is sold. So, thinking about using imagery for appetite appeal, this happens a lot with food products. Illustration or photography can present the serving suggestion or even what the product looks like when you have prepared it. So, we see this a lot in the baked good aisle packaging, right? Brownie mix, Duncan Hines, and there's a lot of food photography going on at play here. This may not, a lot of times, food photography, this may not even be an actual brownie brownie that was made with the brownie mix. There may be all sorts of random stuff that was used to make this. Food photography, lots of trickery that goes on in food photography. If you want to look that up later, it's very interesting. But thinking about the brownie mix, even if you're not the best baker, Duncan Hines is saying, hey, decadent brownie mix. If you buy this brownie mix, you're going to make the brownies. This is what they look like. Also to entice you too, because these images are very inviting, almost voluptuous in a way. It's like, ooh, look at this, warm, fresh brownie. Buy the brownie mix, take me home, make the brownie mix, right? So to entice the consumer. Thinking about how you crop and scale images. Imagery should be designed to fit within the layout. The layout should not be designed around the imagery. So again, Photoshop, you know how to crop, you know how to scale and reposition images. You guys even know how to Photoshop things in and out of images and to manipulate imagery. So you should use those skills and take advantage of that. Again, here's this pasta brand that we looked at before. Thinking about the cropping and position of this image. So we've cropped in on this very close into the sky and his facial expression. And also here with the plate imagery, we have kind of zoomed out a little bit and we're not cropped in so hard on this product that we can't see details about it. So again, kind of the slice of life here with the plate and the finished product there of those stuffed shells. So again, thinking about using imagery, show the product or use a hero image of the product, that feature image, depict the target consumer, maybe to set a certain mood, tone, or locale, to provide credibility for a product, again, appeal to appetites, to create a texture or pattern with an imagery or illustration, and to express flavor, scent, usage, to show how a product's intended to be used, decor and or fashion, and then also even to personify the brand. So thinking about symbols and icons in regards to imagery. So here we have this Mina logo with this kind of mandala style flower icon in the eye there. Symbols and icons can become powerful tools for visual communication. And they can even become graphic elements that become so iconic that consumers seek that out. And they identify with this little symbol more than they do just the whole label, right? Think about how you guys purchase and look for products. I'm very color coded. Like if a product I use changes its color, that just messes my mind up because I look for a certain color, or even looking for certain marks. Like if I'm always looking for this little flower, I know that I'm going to get the Mina brand of products if I'm looking for this particular icon. And then characters, which we've already talked about a little bit, but thinking about characters, they're not necessarily associated with just kids brands. We do see that a lot, but characters, think of Chester the Cheeto guy, or Cheetah, Chester the Cheetah, right, for the Cheetos brand. Chester's all over the place, and he's definitely not just a kid-specific character. Characters can support brand communication and promote brand attributes. Also, again, embodies the brand's personality. When using characters, even if they're not necessarily kid-specific characters, they should be charismatic, engaging, and appealing. So if we take a look here, we're using the chip, the actual image of the chip, to be the beak of our little bird character here. So mirroring illustration and photographic styles. And then here again on the snackaroo, we've got these fun little cat illustrations that are physically on the image of the chip. So they're hanging out, playing around with the chips. Violators, not as bad as it sounds. A violator is a term for a visual device that's typographically positioned on top of the packaging graphic. So in the layering, the violator is typically on top or over something. And the violator is used to call attention to or announce a special feature of the product or package. So they disrupt or violate, if you will, the main design of the primary display panel. So a lot of times you will see things like, for example, if it's a new product, the violator word will be new. Or if a brand changes their packaging, it might say, new fresh look, same great taste. A lot of times those sort of brands will use violators to indicate those attributes. And then thinking about instructional illustrations, there's quite a few examples of them here. They're meant to be informative, functional, and educational. They still go along with the style of the packaging, but they provide how-tos. They explain to customers how to do something with the package or with its contents. So breaking that down a little bit more, they show you how to open the package. So if we take a look at this guy here, it says push tail to open, and there's a little perf area. And then how to close or reseal the package. So a lot of products are resealable now. That's a big attribute. Think of cheese. A lot of times cheese comes with this easy to open and close. How to use or prepare the product. So, how to boil and make your macaroni. And precautionary warnings or hazards. So, things like toxic, don't get near eyes or whatever. Thinking here we've got essential ingredients, got little illustrations there, defining the ingredients there. So when we think about key points for using imagery, we want to think of, there's obviously a perception of imagery that differs from culture to culture. Illustrations, photos, icons, symbols, and characters can be executed in a multitude of styles. It should be direct and appropriate. Should also be crucial. It's also crucial to explore design strategy through an array of imagery and colors. So when you are creating your packages, don't stick to one image or one illustration style. Experiment with that and really see how it affects the overall packaging of the product. And then illustrations and photos often become touch points that the consumer begins to look for. For example, there is a brand of wine, and each wine it's called 19 Crumbs, and you guys may have known, if you've not heard of this, you should totally look it up. It's really cool. They actually they have mug shots on all of their wines, so each different wine has a mug shot, and they actually incorporate augmented reality technology. And when you put a phone up to the mug shot, you download their app, you put a phone up to the mug shot, and the mug shot will tell you the story of what crime they committed. So full on brand narrative all around. And then images should also be designed to fit within the context of the layout and not the other way around. Okay, so that is thinking about colors and images. And I hope that you guys will take this and apply this to your projects moving forward.